Have you ever considered that building significant wealth in real estate might not involve uncovering some secret, never-before-seen strategy or, let's be honest, inheriting a fortune?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, right?
What if it's really about mastering proven methods, making your money work smarter, and, well, just repeating that process?
It's definitely a tantalizing idea. Many assume real estate success demands either, massive upfront capital or maybe just a stroke of pure luck. But David Greene, in his fantastic 2019 book, argues it's more about making your existing money work more efficiently through a repeatable system.
Absolutely. And that's precisely what we're diving into today. The BRRRR strategy. That's BRRRR.
Right. Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
Greene presents this as a direct shortcut, really, to financial freedom by optimizing how you deploy your capital.
So our mission for you today is to unpack all of Greene's core philosophies, his key points, and the practical details of BRRR. We really want to give you a clear, actionable understanding of how this process isn't just about buying properties.
It's more than that.
Yeah, it's about cultivating what he calls mastery and continuously compounding your success.
Okay, so let's start right there with that idea of mastery.
Sure.
What exactly does Greene mean by it, in the context of real estate investing?
Well, he defines mastery as harnessing and controlling a powerful force to make it work for you rather than against you. Think of it like, riding a bicycle or surfing a wave. You're learning to control momentum and physics, right? In real estate, that power comes from capital, market dynamics, and systematic processes. So mastery is about understanding and controlling those elements to achieve financial freedom.
He talks about his own journey where he scaled from buying, 2 houses a year
Something like that.
to 2 a month. And it wasn't by suddenly finding more money or resorting to shady strategies, as he puts it. So what was the real shift? What changed?
His core realization, and this is key, was that he needed to make the money he already had work far more efficiently. He emphasized that it shouldn't just be him working hard. His capital should be working tirelessly right alongside it.
Makes sense.
And he's quite open about it, saying if he'd had a resource like his own book earlier, he thinks he'd own maybe 20 to 30 more houses today.
Wow.
So this strategy, BRRR, it's his way of offering a practical shortcut. It allows you, the listener, to avoid the common mistakes he made and really get the absolute most out of every single deal.
Okay, let's talk numbers then, because this seems to be where the BRRR strategy really stands out. The return on investment, ROI, and that compounding effect. When Greene discusses ROI for the strategy, what exactly is he measuring?
Right. So he's specifically focused on the cash-on-cash return. Now, this metric isolates the annual cash flow generated by your investment against the actual cash you initially put into the deal.
Okay, just the cash flow versus the cash in.
Exactly. It gives you a very clear picture of how effectively your invested cash is producing income. It's distinct from other forms of profit like, appreciation or loan pay down.
And here's one of his most maybe counterintuitive but powerful secrets. While we all naturally focus on boosting profits, maybe by raising rent,
Sure, that's the obvious way.
he reveals the real leverage in BRRR isn't just about income. It's about drastically shrinking your initial cash investment, your basis. He argues that's where the true magic happens.
That's absolutely it. He stresses that while increasing profit is, of course, important, decreasing your basis, the actual amount of cash you have left invested in the deal is often far more impactful and, frankly, easier to control.
Easier to control. Interesting.
Yeah, and this is why BRRR can deliver these remarkably high returns. He even claims to hit returns over 70% on his BRRR deals. Even on what he considers bad ones, he emphasizes it's, quote, all in the math.
70%? That's a bold claim. How does he achieve that even on the so-called bad ones? What's the secret sauce there?
Well, it really boils down to the refinance and repeat phases. If you can structure the deal right and, crucially, pull out 100% of your initial cash from a BRRRR deal through the refinance.
Which is the goal.
Right, that's the ideal scenario. Then you essentially achieve an infinite cash-on-cash return on that specific property because your money is no longer tied up in it.
Okay. Infinite return because you have zero cash left in.
Exactly. And this frees you up to redeploy that capital into the next deal.
Mm-hmm.
He illustrates the compounding power. If you could repeat this process, maybe pull all your cash out every 6 months or so. You could potentially buy a new property every 3 months, maybe 4 new properties a year, all using the exact same initial capital.
And the cumulative impact of that over time,
Yeah.
that's staggering.
It really is. He uses his own averages as an example,
Mhm.
say generating $25,000 in equity and $400 in monthly cash flow per single family home. if you project this out, even if properties don't appreciate at all.
Right, zero appreciation.
Acquiring 20 houses in 5 years could still add $500,000 to your net worth and generate $13,000 in monthly passive income just from the cash flow and forced equity. This really highlights the profound compounding difference BRRRR makes compared to just, buying a single house and waiting for a market to go up.
Yeah.
It's all about making your money work hard, pulling it out, and then repeating that process.
Okay, but this all hinges on a foundational maxim in real estate, something people always say: you make your money when you buy. This implies that you can't really salvage a bad deal later, can you, if you overpay up front?
You absolutely cannot. Greene really hammers this point home. He states emphatically that no clever rehab, no superhuman real estate agent, and certainly no creative financing strategy can save you if you overpay for a property from the start. It just won't work.
So you can't fix a bad buy.
Nope. He shares this cautionary tale. He calls him Sam, who overpaid for a house. Then Sam tried to force it into profitability through expensive rehab and, slick sales tactic. Well, Sam ended up tying up all his capital, missing out on genuinely great deals that came his way simply because his money was trapped in this losing proposition. It was a disaster.
So the clear lesson there is, stick to your numbers from the very beginning. Don't try to manufacture profit from an overpriced asset.
Exactly. Don't get emotional about it.
What then are David Greene's criteria for identifying a truly great deal? How do you know when you found one?
He keeps it incredibly simple, really, with 3 logical criteria. First, you need to be all in. That's your purchase price plus your estimated rehab costs for no more than 75% of the after repair value, or ARV.
Okay, the 75% rule.
Right. This immediately builds in significant equity and a crucial safety net. Second, the property must cash flow positively from day one after it's rented. No exception.
Positive cash flow.
And third, it just needs to be located in an area that won't cause you constant headaches. Think stable neighborhoods, not, war zones. These criteria are designed to weed out marginal deals and protect you from making poor decisions based on hope.
I appreciate how he addresses the fear factor, too, which is huge for new investors. He quotes Brandon Turner saying, "Overcome fear with math."
It's such a powerful truth. Fear and uncertainty are often the biggest barriers to entry in real estate. But by learning to analyze deals with concrete, objective numbers, that fear really diminishes.
The numbers don't lie.
Exactly. The math won't lie to you. And this systematic practice, this repetition of rigorous analysis, that's how you build genuine mastery and confidence.
And the key to finding these killer deals, the ones that meet the criteria, it often comes down to finding motivated sellers. These aren't the typical sellers just listing with an agent for top dollar, are they?
Not usually, no. Motivated sellers prioritize a quick, easy, and certain sale over maximizing every last penny. Often it's because their property is distressed, maybe they're facing financial pressure, or they're just emotionally exhausted by the situation.
They just want out.
Right. They've frequently been let down by previous buyers whose financing fell through. So by offering an all-cash offer, or at least very strong financing, and waiving contingencies like inspection or appraisal.
That makes your offer stand out.
Immensely attractive.
Yeah.
That certainty and speed is often worth more to them than a potentially higher offer that might just fall through anyway.
He also suggests intentionally looking for areas that are often ignored by the bigger players, the institutional investors. Why is that a good strategy?
Well, by targeting areas that these large hedge funds or those ubiquitous top 10 best places to invest lists aren't focused on, you dramatically reduce your competition.
Fewer bidding wars.
This increases your likelihood of finding those genuinely undervalued deals that others are either scared of, or maybe they just don't have the systems in place to act quickly enough. You leverage your ability to buy right, your knowledge, as a distinct advantage.
So once you know what you're looking for, how do you actually find these deals? He lists a pretty comprehensive range of channels.
Yeah, he covers a lot of ground. He recommends working with multiple top-producing real estate agents. Talent tends to attract talent. Leveraging wholesalers is key, especially for properties that fall out of escrow. Consistent direct mail campaigns can be really effective. That repetition signals seriousness and persistence.
What else?
Networking, both professional and personal. Driving for dollars, literally driving around looking for distressed properties. Even using bird dogs, those informal scouts who find potential deals for a finder's fee. And for attracting online leads, he mentions using tools like Lead Propeller or Investor Carrot to create professional landing pages specifically for motivated sellers.
And to manage all these leads, all these contacts and opportunities, He strongly advocates for leveraging technology right.
Oh, absolutely. Specifically, using a customer relationship manager or CRM. Even a simple spreadsheet can work when you're starting out, but a dedicated CRM helps you organize contacts, track conversations, manage follow-up systematically, and automate reminders for properties or leads.
Keeps things from falling through the cracks.
Precisely. This systematic approach reduces human error and makes the whole deal finding process much more efficient and, importantly, scalable.
Okay, so you've successfully bought that undervalued property. The next big R in BRRRR is the rehab. And David Greene has some really ingenious strategies he calls hacking rehabs to maximize your value without just throwing money at it. What does that mean?
Yeah, hacking rehabs. It means making strategic improvements that give you the biggest bang for your buck. Things that significantly boost your after-repair value rather than just, indiscriminately spending on every possible upgrade just because you can.
So it's about smart spending.
Exactly. Smart spending, not just cutting corners everywhere.
How does that tie into the common investor debate? Should you use handymen or licensed contractors? What's his take?
Well, he distinguishes handymen as generally unlicensed workers, often doing side jobs. They can be significantly cheaper for specific non-structural tasks like tiling, painting, or installing appliances, mainly because they have less overhead.
Yeah.
The trade-off is that you, the investor, often take on more of the project management and coordination. Licensed contractors are generally more expensive, but they handle a wider scope of work, especially anything requiring permits.
But the real game changer, he says, is finding that rock star contractor. What defines them for an investor? What makes them a rock star?
A rock star contractor for an investor is someone who truly understands your business goals, not just their own bottom line. They're proactive in helping you save money where it makes sense, and critically, they are often investors themselves.
That's interesting. Why does that matter?
Because when your contractor is also an investor, their entire perspective shifts. They get the why behind your budget constraints and your value-add goals. They become an invaluable partner in increasing your property's value effectively and efficiently. He argues that surrounding yourself with this type of talent is far more important than trying to do every little thing yourself.
That's a really powerful insight. And how do you ensure transparency and control over costs with these contractors, rockstar or otherwise?
He insists on itemized bids, always. Instead of just getting a vague lump sum for a project, you require the contractor to break down and justify every single expense.
Like line items for everything.
Exactly. For example, if a ceiling fan installation costs, say, $200, the bid should break that down. Maybe $125 for the fan itself and $75 for labor. This level of clarity allows you to negotiate effectively, compare bids intelligently, and make sure you're not unknowingly overpaying for materials or time.
So it's not just about saving money, it's about strategically spending for the highest ROI. What are some of his key upgrade hacking examples? Where do you get the most bang for your buck?
Right. He suggests things like tiling a small bathroom floor or shower. The material cost can be minimal, especially if you source well, but it makes a huge visual impact on perceived value.
Okay.
Painting old kitchen cabinets and adding new modern hardware can completely transform a dated kitchen for very little money. Gives it that killer finish. And a really significant value add, he emphasizes, is installing HVAC, central air, and heat.
That seems expensive, though.
It can be, but it often boosts the appraisal value enough that you can recoup the entire cost, or most of it, through the refinance. He calls these black belt investor moves, prioritizing a specific calculated ROI, not just defaulting to the cheapest possible option for everything.
And for properties with really big problems, like, say, needing a completely new roof, how does a black belt investor approach that kind of challenge?
Well, most novice investors see a major issue like a new roof as an absolute deal breaker. It's expensive, often can't be financed up front easily, and requires skilled labor, permits. It's scary.
Yeah, I'd probably run.
But a black belt investor, as Greene calls them, sees it as a tremendous opportunity. Why? Because it immediately scares away most of the competition.
Less competition.
Exactly. If you have a skilled, investor-focused contractor on your team, they can handle these major challenges within your budget. It allows you to solve a huge problem that others avoid, and you get rewarded handsomely for it in the purchase price and eventual equity.
This really sounds like a shift in mindset from being a hands-on general contractor yourself to truly running a rehab business.
That's precisely it. Greene strongly prefers what he calls the business model of rehab. This is where you create systems and leverage your core 4 team members. That's a term for your essential real estate squad. Your agent, lender, contractor, and property manager.
Just core team.
Right. You rely on them and your systems to manage the rehabs, minimizing your personal day-to-day involvement. This is absolutely crucial if you want to scale beyond just a few deals a year. You can even use another core 4 member, like maybe your agent, to pop by and check on rehab progress, ensuring quality and keeping everyone's interests aligned.
Okay, let's shift gears to managing tenants and the property itself. He says rent is the only income an investment property generates. That really implies expense control is paramount, doesn't it?
It's absolutely vital. Since you're not selling a different product each month, keeping your operational expenses tightly in check directly impacts your bottom line, your profitability. He applies the broken windows theory here.
How does that apply to real estate?
Well, the theory suggests that visible signs of neglect, like broken windows, can attract further crime and decay. In property management, this means buying in areas with noticeable pride of ownership, where properties are generally well maintained. This tends to attract higher quality tenants, which in turn leads to fewer issues, less turnover, and lower repair costs down the line.
That makes sense. And he delves into why people rent versus buy, which seems like it could really inform your tenant attraction strategy.
Yeah, understanding the tenant's perspective is key. People often rent for various financial reasons. Maybe it's cheaper short-term, they're saving for a down payment, or they have credit issues preventing a mortgage. But he underscores the fact that while renting might seem cheaper initially, rents consistently increase long-term, whereas fixed-rate mortgage payments generally stay stable. Knowing this helps you tailor your marketing and highlight the benefits of your specific property.
So what are his concrete strategies for attracting and then retaining those high-quality tenants?
Okay, first, strategic location is huge. He advises buying near major employers like hospitals, which attract highly educated, often transient employees who need to rent, not buy. Also, investing near excellent schools is a big one. It attracts wealthier families, often leads to better property appreciation, and generally means higher quality, more stable tenants.
And for minimizing vacancy.
To minimize vacancy, he suggests maybe initially advertising at a slightly lower price just to secure a good tenant quickly, then raising the rent to the full market rate upon renewal. Beyond that, it sounds simple, but just being a responsive and fair landlord, handling repairs quickly, giving prompt attention is absolutely critical for retention. Happy tenants stay longer.
And there's a smart tip about lease timing as well, isn't there? Something about seasonality.
Yes, that's a great one. He advises timing your lease expirations whenever possible to the spring and summer months. This is when rental demand is traditionally highest in most markets.
More people looking to move then.
Exactly. It significantly reduces your potential vacancy periods between tenants and can save you thousands of dollars over the long term compared to having a lease end in, say, December.
Now, property managers, they often get a bad rap. They're seen as expensive, sometimes frustrating.
Yeah, that's definitely a common perception. And Greene acknowledges the difficulty and the cost involved in finding a good one. It requires significant upfront time and effort, no doubt about it. But he offers a systematic approach for vetting them and then managing them effectively.
Okay, so what should you ask a potential property manager in an interview beyond just the basics like fees?
He advises asking very specific, scenario-based questions, not just generic stuff like how do you handle maintenance.
Okay.
Ask things like, what would you do if a tenant reported X problem? And crucially, observe their tells, their nonverbal cues, their facial expressions to gauge sincerity and competence.
Read between the lines a bit.
Right. And clearly communicate your needs and expectations up front. Most importantly, he stresses getting referrals from other successful investors who actually work with that PM and can vouch for their real-world performance, not just give you a name.
And once you hire a PM, how do you manage them effectively, especially when it comes to repairs, which can be a big expense?
He implements a strict system for handling tenant repair claims. First, require a picture of the damage from the tenant. Second, get the tenant's written explanation of what happened. Third, get the PM's recommendation on who should pay, and this is key, with justification cited directly from the lease agreement or relevant case law before you approve any repairs.
So documentation is key.
Absolutely. This prevents unnecessary landlord expenses for things that are actually the tenant's responsibility. He also mentions he often prefers using his own preferred handyman for repairs, not solely relying on the PM's vendor list.
Why is that?
Well, his handyman is often cheaper, but more importantly, it provides him with an independent source of information about the property's actual condition and frankly, how the tenants are maintaining it. It's an extra layer of oversight.
Smart. Okay, let's shift gears again to financing because pulling your capital back out is absolutely crucial for increasing your ROI and BRRR. It's the whole refinance part.
It truly is paramount for making the repeat possible. He details exactly what you need to ask lenders.
Hmm.
Obviously, your pre-approval amount based on your debt-to-income ratio, the current rates, of course. But most importantly, insist on getting a net sheet detailing all the closing costs, not just a single origination fee they might quote you up front.
Look at the whole picture.
Exactly. You don't want to haggle over $1,000 on the purchase price only to turn around and pay significantly more in hidden lender fees later on. Get the full breakdown.
And investors need to understand different loan types, right? It's not just a standard residential mortgage you'd get for your own house.
Right, definitely not. Conventional loans are the standard starting point for investors, but they typically require 20–25% down and carry higher interest rates than loans for primary residences.
Okay.
Crucially, once you hit 10 finance properties, which is a common limit for conventional loans sold to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, you'll likely need to utilize portfolio loans. These are loans that the bank keeps on its own books rather than selling. They often have slightly different terms, maybe adjustable rate mortgages.
What about financing the purchase and rehab initially if the property is distressed?
That's where hard money and private financing come in. These are short-term, usually higher interest loans secured primarily by the asset itself, the property. They're often used for acquiring and rehabbing distressed properties that wouldn't qualify for conventional loans in their current state. Think of them as bridge loans.
A bridge to get you to the refinance.
Exactly. You use them to buy and fix the property. Then once it's stabilized and meets conventional standards, you refinance into a long-term, lower-rate conventional or portfolio loan. He does note that private financing, getting a loan directly from another individual investor, is often a more favorable alternative to institutional hard money because the terms can be more flexible.
This all ties beautifully into the power of other people's money, or OPM, as it's often called.
Yes, absolutely. Real estate investing fundamentally requires three things. You need money, you need knowledge, and you need hustle or effort. The powerful truth, the big secret, if there is one, is that you don't have to personally provide all three yourself.
You can partner or borrow.
Precisely. Leveraging OPM allows you to focus on your strengths, whether that's finding the deals, managing the rehabs, or building the systems. It dramatically increases your potential deal volume and allows you to tackle larger projects that might be impossible if you were just using your own limited funds. When it's structured correctly, OPM creates a win-win situation because many people with capital lack the time, knowledge, or hustle to invest it effectively themselves.
Now, there's sometimes a misconception that BRRR is riskier because it involves more steps, maybe more leverage. But Greene argues the opposite, doesn't he?
He does, quite strongly. He argues that BRRRR, done correctly, is actually less risky than traditional buy-and-hold models where you might put 20% down and just hope for appreciation.
How so? Less risky.
His reasoning is this. With BRRR, you're intentionally buying properties significantly undervalued. You're taking direct control of the value improvement yourself through the rehab, not just waiting for the market. And crucially, you're pulling more of your own capital out of the deal during the refinance, leaving less of your personal money exposed.
Less skin in the game long term.
Right. The significant equity you create through the purchase and rehab acts as a buffer and can be leveraged for future deals or emergencies. Ultimately, he believes consistent cash flow and robust financial reserves, not just static equity locked up in a property, provide true safety and peace of mind in any market condition.
So how does one take this powerful strategy and really scale it into a full-fledged, truly impactful business? He introduces what he calls the 4 E's. What are those?
The 4 E's of success, as he lays them out, are efficiency, effectiveness, expeditiousness, and employability. Basically, improving these 4 areas across all your operations makes your business significantly more successful and scalable.
Okay, break those down quickly.
Sure. Efficiency means achieving more with less effort or money. Effectiveness is about improving your odds of success, making better decisions. Expeditiousness is all about speed, how quickly you can analyze deals, close, rehab, rent, refinance. And employability is your ability to effectively delegate tasks to others, to leverage your team.
This reminds me a lot of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, which he also brings up.
Absolutely, they tie together perfectly. The 80-20 rule suggests that roughly 20% of your effort yields 80% of your results. He encourages you to identify your personal 20%, those tasks that feel light to you, the ones you excel at naturally, and that have the highest impact on your bottom line.
Your highest value activities.
Exactly. And then the goal is to intentionally systemize and leverage out the other 80%, the tasks that feel heavy, burdensome, or that someone else could do just as well or better.
And the key to leveraging out those heavy tasks, that 80%, is building systems. What does a system actually look like in this context for a real estate investor? It sounds kind of abstract.
It's actually very concrete.
Hmm.
A system is simply a pre-established documented method for performing recurring tasks. Think detailed checklists, step-by-step written instructions, maybe automated spreadsheets with formula.
Okay, practical tools.
Right. These systems enable easy delegation. That's the employability part. They virtually eliminate human error because the process is defined. And they are absolutely fundamental for increasing your volume and truly scaling your business beyond what you can personally handle. He basically argues that if you find yourself doing any task more than once, you need a system for it.
Makes sense. Does he give examples?
Yeah. He recommends specific Google Drive spreadsheets for pretty much every key part of BRRRR. Criteria for evaluating agents, a due diligence checklist, rehab execution and tracking, rehab completion checks, criteria for screening lenders, and of course, a comprehensive contact list or CRM.
He also talks about how repetition creates mastery, and that seems directly tied into improving these ease through systems.
Yes, it's a crucial point he makes about mindset. He shares his own experience, saying, you shouldn't expect to be good at something complex like real estate investing the very first time you try it.
Yeah, that's unrealistic.
Totally. Like an athlete trying a brand new sport. Those first few attempts are primarily for learning, for gathering data points, for figuring out what works and what doesn't, not for achieving peak performance immediately. He stresses that persistence and the willingness to learn from those initial failures or near misses is the key differentiator for successful investors long term. The repetition that comes from doing more deals which systems enable is what truly improves your efficiency, your effectiveness, and your speed over time.
So systems allow you to increase volume,
Right.
and that increased volume in turn leads to tangible competitive advantages.
Precisely. He gives a great example. Increasing the number of properties you manage with a single property manager gives you significant negotiating power. He personally pays only 7% for property management fees instead of the typical 10%, simply because he brings them enough volume and consistent business.
That's a direct bottom line benefit.
Exactly. It's a direct, tangible financial benefit that comes purely from scaling your operations through well-designed systems and processes.
He ties it all together really beautifully at the end with the compounding effect, not just of money, but of leveraging people and systems. He uses that analogy of a fisherman.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. He described the transformation from being the hardworking fisherman who's doing everything themselves, catching the fish, cleaning the fish, selling the fish at market, to becoming the happy business owner who builds a team and systems to leverage other fishermen to handle those tasks.
Working on the business, not just in it.
Exactly. It's a powerful parallel to the concept of compound interest with money. By getting other talented people involved, your core four, your contractors, your PM, and training them effectively using your well-defined systems, you can grow your wealth and your business exponentially, far beyond what your individual time and effort could ever achieve alone. It's about building a machine.
So what does this all mean for you as you're listening and considering diving into or maybe scaling up your own real estate journey? If the secret to wealth, as Greene suggests, is making small, good decisions repeatedly over time, think about the profound impact of not just compounding your money, but also compounding your effort. You can do that by thoughtfully leveraging other people and well-designed systems. So here's the thought. What single heavy task, that 80% task, can you systemize and delegate this week to free up your light 20% for higher impact activities?